What if I told you? The secret to a fulfilling life isn't more time, but making the most of the time you already have. Welcome to Limitless Growth. Today, you're about to experience one of the most powerful self-development classics ever written. Arnold Bennett's timeless work, How to Live on 24 Hours a Day. This isn't just a book. It's a wake-up call to live intentionally, to grow daily, and to never waste another hour again. So, sit back, breathe in deep, and let these words change how you see time. And yourself. Have you ever paused, just for a moment, and truly thought about how much time you actually have in a single day? Not in vague terms, but clearly, consciously, with intention. 24 hours. That's what you get. That's what I get. That's what the richest billionaire on the planet gets. No more, no less. And the question that Arnold Bennett asks, with both boldness and grace, is this: are you really living all of those 24 hours, or are they slipping by, quietly, without leaving behind any trace of fulfillment? Time, unlike money or possessions, is the one thing in life that's completely equal. You can't buy more of it. You can't save it up in a vault. And you can't borrow it from tomorrow. It flows. Constantly. Silently. Unstoppably. Every morning, you wake up with a fresh deposit of 24 hours, 1,440 minutes, gifted to you without condition. But here's the twist: while time is abundantly available, most people act as if it's worthless. We spend it with less thought than we give to the money in our pockets. Let's face it, when people say they don't have time, what they really mean is they haven't prioritized it. Bennett challenges this common excuse. He says, if you're not satisfied with your life, it's not because you lack time. It's because you're not using the time you do have in a conscious, deliberate way. That realization can hit hard. Because it forces us to take responsibility. Now think about this: how do you usually spend your day? You might say, well, I work from 9 to 5. Okay. Fair enough. Then what? You come home. You eat. Maybe you scroll through your phone. Watch some videos. Relax a bit. Then, before you know it, it's bedtime again. Another day, gone. But here's the truth that Bennett brings to light: your real life doesn't begin only on weekends or vacations. It starts every single evening when you clock out of your job. Yes, your job may demand your energy. Commuting may tire you. Responsibilities may pull you in different directions. But even after all that, most people still have 5 to 6 usable hours every day. The question is, are you using those hours, or losing them? Let's do some basic math. If you sleep 8 hours and work 8 hours, that still leaves another 8 hours. Even if we account for meals, commuting, and small chores, you can still find 90 minutes to 2 hours every evening. Now imagine using those 90 minutes, not to survive, but to build. Not to escape, but to grow. That's what Bennett invites us to explore. He says, don't treat the time after work as dead time. Treat it as your real time. Your sacred time. The hours where you finally get to ask, who do I want to become? What do I want to learn? What do I want to create? And here's the beauty: you don't need to quit your job. You don't need to wait for retirement. You don't need perfect conditions. You just need to start valuing the present moment. Because the truth is, the present moment is all we ever really have. Now, some people might argue, but I'm too tired after work. And that's fair. Bennett doesn't deny fatigue. But he challenges us to examine it. Is your exhaustion truly physical? Or is it emotional? Mental? Habitual? Many times, it's not that your body is tired, it's your spirit that's uninspired. It's the weight of unfulfilled potential that feels heavy. And the moment you begin to do something meaningful, even small, like reading a few pages of a good book, writing a few lines in a journal, or listening to a lecture, suddenly, energy returns. Passion stirs. And a strange thing happens: you feel more alive. Bennett shares a powerful idea here. He says, you can live a full, rich life, even if your day job occupies the bulk of your hours. In other words, you don't need to escape your routine to find joy. You just need to reframe your routine. You need to insert moments of purpose within it. And once you do that, even in the smallest way, you begin to feel the shift. Think of it this way. If you dedicate just 90 minutes a day to intentional living, you'll have over 45 hours every month to build your dreams. That's more than 500 hours a year. Let that sink in. Over 500 hours to learn a new language, write a book, start a business, improve your health, deepen your mind. And all of that, without sacrificing your job, your responsibilities, or your sleep. This isn't some high-performance productivity hack. It's simple. It's grounded. It's real. And it starts with one small step: noticing time. Becoming aware of where it flows. And slowly, kindly, but firmly, reclaiming it. Bennett is not harsh in his tone. He doesn't scold you. He invites you. He speaks to that part of you that already knows, you're meant for more than mindless repetition. You're meant to live. And the path to that life? It starts not tomorrow, but today. Tonight. In this very hour. He suggests we begin by carving out a small block of time in the evening. Not 3 hours. Not even 2. Just 1 hour. 60 minutes. 30, if that's all you have. Use it for something that feeds your inner self. No distractions. No noise. Just presence. Just purpose. And when you do this day after day, those small moments begin to compound. They accumulate. They transform you. Because suddenly, you're not just surviving your day, you're shaping your life. The biggest mistake people make is believing that the hours outside of work are too insignificant to make a difference. But time, as Bennett explains, is never insignificant. Even a single hour used wisely can shift the direction of your life. He urges us to see time not as something to be filled, but as something to be honored. You don't kill time. You build with it. But here's the challenge: most of us are not taught how to use time with intention. We drift. We react. We respond to whatever comes our way: messages, distractions, obligations. We wake up and find that whole weeks, even years, have passed, and we've been living on autopilot. Bennett's reminder is both sharp and compassionate: if you want your life to change, your use of time must change first. He gives a powerful suggestion to begin this transformation. Start small. Begin with just one evening a week. Choose an hour where you're not tired, not distracted, not rushed. In that hour, do something purely for the development of your inner self. Not for money. Not for your career. Not for other people. But for you. Read deeply. Reflect. Think. Write. Listen. Expand your mental world. It sounds simple, but this is a radical shift in how we view our own time. Instead of thinking of your day as divided into work and rest, Bennett proposes a third category: living. Work is necessary. Rest is necessary. But if you don't intentionally create space for living, you'll spend your entire life merely existing. He also challenges the belief that self-improvement has to be grand or intense. You don't need to study for 5 hours a day or take night classes to change your life. You need consistency, not intensity. Imagine reading for just 30 minutes every evening. That's over 15 hours a month. Imagine journaling once a day. That's 365 reflections a year. Imagine setting aside a little time to learn about something new: philosophy, art, music, psychology. These small seeds, planted daily, will grow into a forest of awareness. And this growth doesn't just stay inside you. It changes how you see the world. Your conversations deepen. Your presence becomes stronger. Your sense of purpose sharpens. You no longer drift, you direct. Many people claim that they don't have time for this kind of life. But Bennett flips the question: what are you doing with the time you already have? How much of it is truly yours? How much of it do you allow to be stolen, by habits, by entertainment, by passivity? He's not saying you should never relax or have fun. He's not asking you to reject comfort. He's simply asking you to become aware. Once you become aware, you regain control. And once you have control, you can choose deliberately how to spend this gift called life. Think of your time like money. Imagine someone gave you $1,000 every day, but said you had to spend it by midnight or lose it. Would you let it sit there? Would you toss it into the wind without thinking? Or would you spend it wisely, invest it, use it to build something meaningful? Your time is even more valuable than money, because once spent, it never comes back. So why don't we treat it that way? Bennett understood that life isn't about adding more hours, it's about awakening inside the hours we already have. You don't need a longer life. You need a wider one. A deeper one. One where you're not just going through the motions, but truly engaged, mind, heart, and soul. He believed that even if you work all day, you can still be a thinker, a learner, an artist, a philosopher. That's not a luxury, it's a right. And not just a right, but a responsibility. Because when you expand your own mind, you bring more awareness, more creativity, and more meaning to everyone around you. Imagine the change if, instead of dreading the end of the workday, you looked forward to it, not because you're escaping your job, but because you're entering your real life. A life where you read something that stirs you. Where you reflect on what matters. Where you're not just absorbing noise, but exploring truth. This vision is not a fantasy. It's available to anyone. Right now. And the entry point is simple. Just begin. Begin with a single hour. Tonight. Use that hour not to consume, but to connect, to yourself, to knowledge, to your future. Bennett insists that the act of using time well is in itself a source of joy. Not later. Not someday. But immediately. The moment you start living intentionally, life begins to feel different. Time stretches. Energy rises. Meaning flows in. He's not promising that this change will be easy. But he is promising that it's worth it. And that the power to start doesn't lie in any system, any course, or any external motivation. It lies in you. You are the keeper of your time. You are the one who decides what kind of life you will create within it. So what does it really look like to begin using your time in this new way? What does a life of conscious hours feel like? Bennett offers no rigid formula, no strict schedule. He doesn't demand that you wake up at 5 or follow some 10-step productivity system. His advice is gentler, more realistic, and in that, far more powerful. He simply asks you to examine your current habits. To notice where your time leaks. To observe, not judge, the patterns that quietly steal your hours. And then, slowly, to reclaim them. He suggests a practice so small, yet so transformative: spend just 10 minutes a day in quiet thought. Not scrolling, not solving, not reacting, just thinking. Sit still. Reflect. Ask yourself what truly matters. What do I want from this life? Who do I want to become? What am I doing today that brings me closer, or further, from that vision? This kind of thought is not common. Most people go through their entire lives without ever truly thinking about life. They think about bills, tasks, problems, entertainment, but not about the deeper currents that shape their destiny. Bennett wants to change that. He wants you to become the kind of person who lives with eyes open, aware, awake. He warns against confusing activity with achievement. Just because your calendar is full doesn't mean your soul is. Just because you're busy doesn't mean you're growing. In fact, constant busyness can become a form of avoidance, a way of escaping the discomfort of stillness, of facing your own potential. That's why the practice of reflection is so essential. It roots you. It reminds you of who you are beneath the noise, and it guides you to make better choices, not out of habit, but out of alignment with your highest values. Now let's return to that evening hour, that golden time that Bennett says is the key to transformation. What should you actually do in that hour? The answer depends on your inner hunger. Some might read a classic book, not to impress anyone, but to stretch their mind. Others might write, not for an audience, but for clarity. Some might listen to music with full attention, go on a walk, or study a subject that fascinates them. The goal is not to perform. The goal is to connect to something meaningful, something real. And over time, these small acts build into a new identity. You begin to see yourself not just as a worker, not just as someone getting through the day, but as a person who creates their day. A person who owns their mind. A person who lives by design. It's worth pausing here to reflect on a quiet truth Bennett shares: life doesn't shout at you. It whispers. It whispers through small desires, subtle nudges, gentle longings. The desire to grow. The urge to learn. The hunger to contribute. But we miss these whispers when we're always running, always plugged in, always reacting. That's why time alone, in thought, in learning, is so essential. It allows us to hear life speaking. And once you hear it, you can no longer pretend you don't. The man or woman who decides to live fully within their 24 hours does not need dramatic changes. They don't need to move to another country, quit their job, or become someone else. They simply begin where they are, with what they have. They start small. They stay consistent. And that's what makes the difference. Bennett reminds us that transformation happens in the ordinary. Not in grand moments, but in the quiet choice to read instead of scroll. To reflect instead of react. To live instead of delay. He also speaks to the fear that often stops people from starting. The fear that it's too late. That they've wasted too much time already. That they don't know where to begin. And to that, he says, forget the past. Let it go. The only time that matters is the time you have now. And right now, you are holding the most powerful resource a human being can ever possess, this moment. With it, you can begin again. You can choose a new path. You can write a new story. This is not just an idea, it's a promise. Bennett believes in your ability to live consciously. To grow steadily. To become more than what the world expects of you. He doesn't ask for perfection. He only asks that you begin. Because once you begin, really begin, everything starts to shift. You start walking through life with more attention, more courage, more depth. You stop blaming circumstances. You stop waiting for motivation. You stop handing over your power to screens, to routines, to other people's agendas. You reclaim your time. And by reclaiming your time, you reclaim yourself. And the beautiful irony is that the more you give to your inner life, the more alive your outer life becomes. Relationships deepen. Work becomes more meaningful. Challenges become opportunities. Because you are no longer lost in the current. You are swimming. You are steering. You are awake. As you move further into this journey of living consciously, something subtle begins to happen. Your relationship with time, something once taken for granted, becomes sacred. You no longer treat your hours as something to be used up. You treat them as gifts. And with that shift, your life begins to feel richer. Bennett wants you to realize a fundamental truth: time is life. You cannot waste one without wasting the other. Each hour that passes unused is not just a number on a clock, it's a portion of your existence, gone forever. That may sound dramatic, but Bennett's intention isn't to scare you. It's to wake you up. Because he knows that once you truly understand the weight and the worth of your hours, you'll start living with a seriousness that feels both joyful and urgent. And in that urgency, you find peace. Because you're no longer waiting for some future moment to start living. You've stopped delaying, stopped postponing the version of yourself you were always meant to become. You are now living within your 24 hours, not beyond them, not beneath them, but inside them. Fully. Mindfully. Meaningfully. It's important to remember that this way of living is not a sprint. It's not about cramming every second with productivity. That's not what Bennett is saying at all. In fact, he warns against that kind of over-efficiency. He reminds us that to live wisely doesn't mean to live fast. It means to live deliberately. The person who hurries through their day, checking boxes, rushing tasks, speeding through conversations, that person may appear busy, but they are not necessarily living. On the other hand, the one who takes time to think, to feel, to grow, that person may seem slower, but they are rooted in something real. They are aligned. Bennett encourages a rhythm of life that includes stillness. Time for reflection. Space for thought. He calls us to embrace these quiet moments not as a luxury, but as a necessity. Because in those quiet hours, we come back to ourselves. He invites you to view your daily schedule as a canvas, and each decision as a brushstroke. Will you paint something careless, automatic, unremarkable? Or will you create something intentional, personal, alive? This is not about perfection. It's about practice. The practice of noticing. The practice of choosing. The practice of saying yes to what matters, and no to what doesn't. And perhaps most importantly, it's about the practice of beginning again. There will be days when you drift. When the hours slip through your fingers. That's okay. Don't give up. Don't fall into the trap of all or nothing thinking. Just begin again. Every day is a fresh chance. Every hour is a new page. This perspective changes everything. You stop measuring your life in milestones and start measuring it in moments, the kind of moments that happen when you're present. When you're learning. When you're growing. When you're choosing how to live instead of letting life choose for you. And through this shift, something even deeper awakens. You start to trust yourself. You begin to feel a quiet power rise within you, the power of someone who is no longer waiting for life to happen, but is actively shaping it. Bennett believed that every human being has this power. That greatness doesn't come from rare opportunities or extraordinary circumstances. It comes from how you use the ordinary day. Your day. Your hours. Your 24. This is not a theory. It's a practice. And it's available to anyone, at any age, in any season of life. You don't need to change everything. You only need to change one thing, your relationship with time. So tonight, when the day winds down, don't just let the hours fade. Choose one. Just one. Sit with it. Fill it with something real. Something nourishing. Something that makes your mind expand or your soul stir. Because in that single hour, a quiet miracle begins. Not outside of you, but within you. The miracle of living on 24 hours a day. And over time, that 1 hour turns into a habit. That habit becomes a rhythm. That rhythm becomes a mindset. And that mindset becomes a life. A life that is not wasted. Not hurried. Not numb. But a life that is aware. Intentional. Awake. A life where you don't just pass through time, but time passes through you, deeply, fully, beautifully. So ask yourself now, as this chapter closes, how will you live your next 24 hours? If this message stirred something in you, don't let it stay just an idea. Take the first step, tonight. Reclaim just 1 hour and give it to your highest self. And if you found value in this, consider subscribing to Limitless Growth, where timeless wisdom meets a modern voice. For more transformative content and full audiobook chapters like this, explore our playlist linked in the description.